Mount Everest is the most famous mountain in the world. At 29,032 feet, it is the highest point on Earth, a place where ambition and danger collide. Most people know the headlines: the first ascent in 1953, the crowded summit lines, the stories of bodies frozen in the snow. But behind those headlines are stories few people talk about. Some are mysteries, some are tragedies, and others reveal the human cost of climbing the highest peak. These are the untold stories of Everest. In June 1924, two British climbers, George Mallory and Andrew Irvine, set out for the summit of Everest from the north side. Neither of them ever returned. For decades, their disappearance remained one of mountaineering's greatest mysteries. Mallory was already a well-known figure, famously asked why he wanted to climb Everest and answering, "Because it's there." Irvine was just 22, chosen for his mechanical skills and youthful strength. On June 8th, they were last spotted by a teammate through breaks in the clouds, climbing high above the north face. Then the weather closed in. They vanished into the mist. Had they reached the summit before they died? If they had, they would have beaten Hillary and Tenzing by nearly 3 decades. But no one knows for sure. In 1999, Mallory's body was discovered at 26,760 feet, perfectly preserved in the ice. He had severe injuries from a fall, but he carried no camera. Irvine and the camera he was rumored to have carried have never been found. If it exists, it may still hold the answer. Whether the summit of Everest was first reached in 1924, or if the mountain claimed them short of the top. Mallory and Irvine's disappearance was not just about the mystery. It also showed how unforgiving the north side of Everest can be. Most climbers today go from the south, through Nepal. The north, on the Tibetan side, is colder, drier, and less forgiving. There are fewer rescue options, harsher winds, and steeper exposure. For decades, it was nearly impossible to access, closed off under Chinese control. The north has its own tragedies. Climbers caught in storms have frozen to death within sight of camp. Others have collapsed on the exposed ridges, unable to move higher or lower. Many of the bodies on the north side remain where they fell, visible to everyone who follows. The north face is where Green Boots, one of the most infamous bodies on Everest, became a grim landmark in a cave at 27,900 feet. For years, every climber on the northeast ridge passed him on their way to the summit. He's believed to be Sewang Paljor, an Indian climber who died in the 1996 disaster. To many, the north side feels more like Everest's true face, less commercial, more dangerous, and still shrouded in mystery. In 1979, German climber Hannelore Schmatz reached the summit of Everest, becoming the 4th woman to stand on top of the world. But exhaustion struck on the way down. Near the South Col, just below 28,000 feet, she and another climber could go no farther. They set up a bivouac in the death zone, a choice from which few return. By morning, both were dead. For years afterward, her body remained frozen where she fell, sitting upright against her pack, her eyes open, her hair blowing in the wind. Not all tragedies on Everest are well remembered. In 1982, a large Soviet expedition attempted the north face, a route few dared to climb. They were strong, disciplined, and well-equipped, but the mountain gave no mercy. During their push, a storm pinned the team high on the face. Multiple climbers vanished, and the details of what happened were never fully released outside the Soviet Union. Survivors returned broken, and the climb faded into obscurity, overshadowed by Western expeditions. To this day, the exact toll remains debated, another untold story hidden in Everest's long shadow. Every successful expedition to Everest owes its survival to the Sherpas, the high-altitude workers who fix ropes, carry supplies, and guide climbers through the most dangerous terrain. Yet their stories are often overshadowed. For decades, Sherpas have risked their lives in the Khumbu icefall, on the Lhotse face, and high in the death zone. Many never returned, their names rarely making headlines. Without them, Everest would be unclimbable for almost everyone. In 2014, their sacrifice was made tragically clear. An avalanche roared through the Khumbu icefall, killing 16 Sherpas in seconds. They were not chasing personal glory. They were carrying loads and securing the route so foreign climbers could continue upward. The disaster shook the Sherpa community and forced the world to confront how much of the risk on Everest is borne by them. Some seasons on Everest stand apart as nightmares. In 1996, a storm struck high on the south side just as multiple teams were descending from the summit. Winds howled, snow blinded climbers, and exhaustion set in. By the time it was over, 8 people were dead, including experienced guides. The disaster became world famous through books and films, but for those on the mountain, it was simply chaos and survival. The very next year of infamy came in 2015, when a massive earthquake in Nepal triggered an avalanche that roared through base camp. Tents were flattened, climbers buried. At least 22 people died, and dozens more were injured. It was the deadliest single day Everest has ever seen. These years showed that Everest is not just dangerous because of altitude and cold. Entire expeditions can be wiped out in a single moment, no matter how prepared they are. Above 26,000 feet lies the death zone, the altitude where the human body cannot survive for long. On Everest, it is filled with ghosts. Climbers who die here are rarely brought down. The effort and risk are too great, so the bodies remain frozen where they fell. Some lie just off the route, visible to every climber who passes. Others sit propped against rocks, appearing almost asleep. Green Boots on the north side is the most famous, but there are others. Sleeping Beauty, Frances Arsentiev, died in 1998 after reaching the summit without oxygen. Her husband also perished trying to save her. For years, her body remained on the mountain, a haunting reminder of the cost of ambition. These bodies are more than landmarks. They are warnings. For every climber who dreams of standing on the roof of the world, the death zone makes the price brutally clear. Today, Everest is not just a mountain. It is an industry worth millions. Each climber pays thousands of dollars for permits, guides, and logistics. Entire villages depend on the income from trekking and expeditions. Guiding companies compete to lead clients to the summit. Some with experience, others with little more than money. The result is overcrowding. Photographs show lines of climbers stretching down the ridge, waiting their turn at the top of the world. In the death zone, delays can be fatal. Running out of oxygen while waiting in line has cost climbers their lives. There are also darker sides: abandoned oxygen bottles, trash, and even black markets for equipment. Critics argue that Everest has become less about adventure and more about business. The highest point on Earth is also one of the most commercialized. Everest is the tallest mountain in the world, but its untold stories reveal something deeper than altitude. They are stories of mystery, like Mallory and Irvine, stories of sacrifice, like the Sherpas who gave their lives, stories of disaster, of bodies left in the death zone, and of a mountain turned into an industry. These are the stories Everest doesn't advertise, but they are the ones that define it. If you enjoy stories of deadly mountains and impossible climbs, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments which peak I should cover next.